welcome to my channel. Well, one of the questions that I used to get asked often from strangers and stuff about locks is which lock, they ask you as a lock picker, which lock would you use? Or which lock would you use to protect your stuff? And considering that 99.9 something percent of the people that break into stuff do not pick locks. I mean, the ones that do are government agencies that are paid to do that, so it's really part of their job, Even law enforcement. You know who they're the best people to break into stuff? The fire department. Those guys can get into cars, buildings, anything. They know how to get into stuff because they have to. A lot of times, if you think about it, the apartment complex door is locked, and you don't always have a manager with the key. And if it's a fire agent, you need to get in there quick. They bust those doors down. All right, so of these right here, which do you think would be the most secure? Well, from a picking standpoint, so far it's been this one. This one I'm going to talk about. This one here is a pretty good one, even though it's pretty easy to get into. The reason why is because, like I said, most people don't. Most burglars and stuff don't pick locks. This is only a 4-pin lock. Let me turn the light on the camera. There we go. This is only a 4-pin lock. You have to know which way to rotate it. This one's going to rotate this way. These, you can put more tension on the tension wrench because usually you're having to overcome the shackle pressure. But the same principle still applies. You're looking for binders and boom, you're in. All right, but from a criminal standpoint, this lock right here is much harder to get into than this one. Even though this is hardened, some of these, they'll lie to you and say it's hardened, but it's not. It's only like barely hardened. This is a fairly thick shackle, but it's brass, which is easy to cut. This is designed against drilling and everything. But a die cutter could go through this pretty quick. When you've got this like this, and then you've got the hasp over here, you have very little room for them to access the shackle. Here you've got all kinds of room. So if you cut through here, you don't know what you're cutting through. You have to know what you're doing. It can be, they can be cut. This one takes it even another level. Really, all you've got is this, and this is the cylinder that locks in here. So all the rest of this, it's sitting on a little, the little hasp goes up like this. The military does something like this too. They'll have a regular lock, but they'll have a big metal cage and stuff around it. So if you're trying to get any kind of cutting tools or anything, you have to cut on the cage before you even get to the lock. And then to access the lock, the key might be like this. So you'd have to come up, come around, stick your key in, and pull it. It'd be very hard to pick something like that also. So it's physical security. So they're all made by Master Lock. They're all, as far as from a picking standpoint, this one so far is the easiest. This one's not super bad, but it's not super hard, but I think it's because of the bitting. I think I've got a different one around here somewhere. I'll try to pick it later on. This one here I don't have the key for, and I'm going to lock it up and see how difficult it is to get into it. Or you're right here. It's a master lock, so it shouldn't be too hard. So what I'm doing is, here's where all the pins are. It's what we call the Bible. There's where all the pins are. Now down here, this is just for keying purposes, so they can put the pins in there right there. And that's why if you rotate a cylinder too far and go down here, any pins, you usually got to cut out in the bottom up here for the pins when it lines up. So any pins that were up in the Bible will come down and get stuck in the bottom here. You can usually rake that and get that situated. All right, so let's go ahead and close this up. All right, it's locked. So this is all you'd be able to access. And if this is made right, even drilling this out, there are steel anti-drill pins that a lot of times it'll break your bit or divert your drill so that you can't get through it as easy. I'm going to set this here. Let me set this in a vise because the sucker's heavy. Alright, I've got it in a vise. I know it's got to go this way. A lot of times you can tell how the keyway is made and everything. I look at that little L and I figure it goes to the right. Not always. Sometimes they'll mess you up, but you'll never get a lock picked open if you're going this way. Alright, so I don't know how many pins we've got on here. And I'm just going in and trying to find anybody binding. And this looks like what they call a SFIC core, a small frame, small cylinder, interchangeable format core or something. But it's not, it's just the way they put that in there. Oh, I got a click. I got a good click off somebody and some movement. There may be, I have to research this, but there may be security pins in this thing. Now I'm just single pin picking it just for the heck of it, but let me try something called a city rake. It's just designed to simulate the bitting of a key. You just go in there and kind of wiggle it around and hope for the best, and boom, out comes the shackle. So you can see that that's not hard to do. This is still considered picking when you use these different, tools and stuff. It's still considered picking. A lot of the purists in lock picking downplay raking and stuff like that. They think that it doesn't take much skill. It still takes some skill. I mean, you still have to work your tension just right. I might have picked that spool first and done this one. So this is just like you're jiggling up and down, and you're hoping for the best. You're putting it in, and you're just hoping for the best. And you saw I got it pretty quick the first time, but we'll reset it and we'll try to use a different tool. Since it could get open with that, this is kind of a weird shaped snake rake is what this is called. And I'm just going up there and raking back and forth on those and maintaining tension down here. I don't give it a real long time, with each one. If it doesn't happen right away, then a lot of times I'll switch to a different tool. Here's a smaller. This is more like a regular snake rake shape. Boom. Yeah, that's all it was waiting for. It was waiting for just that one pin needed to be touched. Everything else was set. So you can see, usually, if you can rake a lock, if you can get, let me find my, I got so many picks, so many pick holders and stuff in here. Let me find a Bogota. All right. These are usually like almost magic picks. The Bogota. Usually, man, I tell you, poof, see what I mean? A lot of times, man, they just, now that one again, I may have already partially raked it. But any of this method right here is faster than getting out a die cutter or a drill or something like that. And, going back and forth. making a bunch of sparks and noise and everything. Again, criminals are not the smartest person in the world, you know, or else they would realize that the life of crime is not the best way to go. All right, let's see if I can just single pin pick this thing since it's acting so weird. But yeah, you can just try different things, you know. I mean, if it's too easy doing it one way, so here I'm just gonna go through and touch each pin and see what I get. 1, nothing. 2, springy. 3, we got a binder. Got a little bit of turn on the core. I'm leaving it alone. I'm gonna go to somebody else. I can't. May only be like 4 pins or 5 pins. Bam. So of these 4 locks, the one that's most physically secure is this one, because the only way you can access it is by drilling. If you don't know how to pick it, if you don't have a key, this is your only access point, unless you want to cut for quite a while to try to get to this. And this is rollered a lot of times. I don't know if this one is. A lot of times this is rollered, so that even if you got on it with the solid, it's also hardened. The shackle, I know, is hardened. But yeah, they're not hard to get into. And the way this can come in handy for you, besides being a challenge or whatever, is most people don't recommend this, because you're taking a job away from somebody who, you know, it's a locksmith. That's his job. You're taking his living away from him if you're always helping your neighbors who are stupid and keep locking their shackle on their stuff and they're losing their keys, you know, or locking them out of the house. Maybe if it cost them, you know, they'd be a little bit more careful with their keys. And also, if you get to be known as a lock picker, anything comes up missing, and there's no sign of entry or whatever, you're going to be the prime suspect, no matter where you're at. So it's not something you want to necessarily advertise. I was just trying to top the keyway picking because I couldn't. Yeah, this is what they use in a laundromat, and it's not bad. Like I said, it protect the keyway from dust and dirt and everything, but it's pretty easy to pick. It's only 4 pins. This guy may be 5 pins or whatever, but it's pretty easy to rake open. And if it's easy to rake open, then that means it probably doesn't have any security pins in it. If it does, they're not very good, because that one's not thick enough. Because if it's got security pins, the most I should get a lot of times is a false set if I'm raking it, you know. I should only get the core to turn partially. And the reason why a Bogota. The reason why a spool is usually harder to set or to fix is because you need counter rotation to fix it. When you're doing this right here, you're giving positive clockwise rotation. You're not going counter rotation. And when I'm raking, what I'm doing is I'm letting it come back in case there's a spool a little bit. I'm not letting it come all the way back, but I'm applying just a little bit of pressure, you know, on it. A little bit of constant pressure down here. Not enough to white knuckle it or anything, but enough that, you know, you would be turning the, look at that, you'd be turning the key. Now, can you imagine? Usually what's going to happen with the locksmith is, if you lock your gate up with this, say, and you go, damn, you know, I lost the key, and I really want to get in there. Let me call a locksmith. Locksmith's going to come out and hand it to you. And say, that'll be $35 or $50 or whatever. It was a house call, you know, however much. And you go, man, I could have done that. Why didn't you? you know. With one of these, you're not going to be able to grind it. But if you know how to pick a lock, you're going to realize you're also going to look at this differently. You're going to look at this lock differently when you see it. You're not going to look at it and say, God, that'd be impossible. If I lost the key, how would I ever get into my stuff in there? I could never get in there in a million years. You know? So, if you think you're secure, you're not secure against somebody that knows how to get into these locks. And the whole thing behind locks is, locks are designed to keep out honest people. I mean, it's weird, you know, but I mean, that's the way it works. Mostly honest people. You'll see some thieves that just want it easy. They'll be going up and they'll be trying doors on cars or doors on houses. Now they got Ring doorbell. You can see more of that, but people will just come up and try to see if they can just come in and take something, you know. And if you're asleep or you're not there, your property, this is all that's protecting your property. That's why, as far as security goes, I recommend not just locks, but cameras. Because the cameras are going to give you an idea who did it. It may not get your stuff back, but you're going to get an idea of what you're dealing with. Was it just some rando crackhead that was just looking for an easy thing that got into your lawnmower? Or was it an organized little gang that's, you know, marked you as an easy mark? Locks are not going to be the only thing that's going to stop those people. Something that rhymes with locks, but yeah, I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying your security, whatever your physical security is, you don't know how secure this stuff is until you try to get into it. And if you try to get into it with physical means, hardest to get into, second hardest, easiest out of these three. Most people have something dinky, you know, like I said, some people will even, this is a lock, you know, this is a lock. A lot of people will use these on their lockers or personal belongings, you know, or something else. And again, this is to keep honest people out. Because usually what this is being held on by is like a nylon key or something, you know, or a nylon bag. Somebody wants that, it's going to use some sharp object and slice right past the lock. So there you go. I hope you found that kind of interesting. I will be getting back into doing knives. This is a Padlock M736. Pretty good puck lock, but like I said, not that good against picking. Again, you can spend a lot of money on getting a better, more resistant core and everything to picking, but a lot of times you're wasting your money because, like I said, most thieves are not going to spend the time to learn any of this, even though it looks pretty easy raking. And if they do, that's on them. I'm just saying, I just wanted people to be aware that some locks are pretty easy to get into. Even if you don't know what you're doing. It's just technique. Anyways, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.